Hi. It was very humid the day that we filmed this. Please keep that in mind. Welcome back to my channel. If this is not your first time here, welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is John. In the fall, I'm going to be a freshman at Princeton University, and this is my friend,
Alex. Hi everyone, I'm Alex. In the fall, I'll be on campus.
You know how I feel. Why would you say that? Like, you put me in such an uncomfortable situation. Like, you know I'm not happy.
at Yale University. I'm planning on majoring in English.
Hopefully, I'll be majoring in global affairs, but I do not know yet.
We figured we were just going to make a video outlining the Common App and the process of filling it out, just giving like an overview and like an ultimate guide, because I watched a lot of different videos to try and figure out how to do the Common App.
I started mine really late, like in October, so I was very stressed about it, and I don't want you guys to be.
So that is the purpose of this video, and we're just going to jump right into it. So basically, when you first get in, it's just some personal information about yourself and your family. This can be easy or difficult to fill out depending on how complex your family situation is, so just make sure that you take time to do this properly.
Also, if you're somebody who speaks your native language at home that isn't English, make sure you include that, because they do look at it.
So basically after that, you just answer a couple of questions about your high school, including your senior year classes. It's pretty straightforward.
Rank, GPA, just the basic stuff. Get it from your guidance counselor if you don't know it.
So then after your grades is the honors and awards section. This is the first part where you can like have some choice in what you include. So basically with the honors and awards, there are some different tiers, different categories. There's international awards, national, state and regional, and then school. You can really fill it out in any order that you want, but for me personally, I put my international award first, which was a publication that I had writing accepted into, followed by a national award, which was being an AP Scholar with distinction, and then after that I had state and regional, and then school awards.
For me, I did not have that many awards, so I basically just like filled out a lot of scholarships like beforehand. I moved on to like semi-finalists, so I put that down. So yeah, if you don't have awards, apply for scholarships. Even if you do have awards, apply for scholarships.
So basically the biggest thing with honors and awards and with all this is to make yourself look the best that you can. So don't sell yourself short and not fill out completely or not put like a lot. Just try and think of anything really that you can put in there, whether it be honor roll, etc. Obviously don't stretch it too far and put things that don't mean a lot, but the whole thing about the Common App is in applying to college is making yourself look the best as you can, presenting yourself in the best way possible. So keep that in mind when you're filling this out.
Yeah, it helps to quantify your extracurriculars, so it's really important for you to have it, but it's not like
make or break.
Yeah, make or break.
So after the honors and awards section is the testing section. Make sure that you're reporting everything accurately, same thing with grades, etc. You don't want to get caught having like scores that are incorrect, or you don't want to be lying. Obviously just make sure that you're being honest, and it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and some schools like Yale requires you to list all of your scores, so make sure you look at the school's policy on their website to make sure you're doing it correctly.
Some schools will also want you to have a certain number of SAT subject tests or certain ones, so just make sure that you are looking all of that up beforehand, so that when it comes time to do the application, you're not able to not apply.
Yeah, I think most students take 2 SAT subject tests, but with this year, COVID and everything, you probably really should make sure that you look at the website. I personally didn't take any SAT subject tests.
You'll be fine, just make sure that you're doing your research. So after that section is the activity section, which is honestly the meat of the Common App. It's the longest section outside of the personal essay. For me personally, it was the most daunting. I didn't really know how to fill it out, what to put, what order to put things in, but in the end, I think that both of us kind of came up with a science that worked.
I messed up a lot. Like on my application I sent to like my first early schools, like I left a lot of it blank, didn't fill it out. But I learned, and that's the important thing.
So basically with the activities section, you are given up to 10 slots where you can put any activity that you did in high school. This can be a traditional club, it can be a sports team, religious organization, it can be working or even helping out at home with your family members, babysitting, etc. Basically the point of the activity section is to show what you've been doing in high school. Don't feel like because something doesn't fall under the realm of like a traditional club or what you think they want to see in here that you can't put it. Anything that you spent a lot of time on, that you were passionate about, or was a significant part of your high school career, include in this section.
Yeah, definitely do quality over quantity. If you don't have 10 activities, that's okay. And even if you're doing things like babysitting your sibling for like a couple hours a week and you feel like that's important, like helping out with the chores and everything, include that. They want to see variety, so that's important to have.
In terms of actually filling it out, you're really restricted in space in terms of writing and describing the activities. I think you have 250 characters.
No idea.
250 characters per space. When I first started filling it out, I thought it was 250 words. So it was a big surprise to me when I went to paste my answers in and saw that they didn't fit. That's another thing. Make sure that you are doing all of this, like anything that involves writing, in a Word document or something else, and then saving it and copying and pasting it in, because sometimes the Common App won't save, and it's honestly just good to have things on record.
You don't have to write incomplete sentences. I know for mine, I wanted to save that like one extra space, so I didn't put any periods at the end. You could use symbols instead of writing the and, like that sort of thing. Like save space, try to get your point across as concise as possible.
So basically how it works is you have a spot to list the name of activity as well as the category, and then you also have the hours per week that you did it. So for me personally, I would pick whatever category that I thought worked best. And then in the spot where I listed the name of the club, I would also include any officer positions. This is so that as soon as they're reading it, they're seeing exactly what your role was, and it'll also save you space when you're actually writing the description. So for example, my first activity that I included was orchestra. So I would list it as a musical performing group. And then for the name of it, I said orchestra vice president. So that's getting it right to the point, and then you're also saving that space within the description.
Yeah, so for mine, it was doing karate. So in like the title part, I put other sports, second degree black belt, because that really made it easy for the admission officers to see it right away when they're just glancing by. Another thing you should take in mind is for a lot of these top schools, they're usually looking through these applications really quickly, like spending 5 to 10 minutes per application.
So that's why it's really important to be concise. Like Alex mentioned earlier, using an and symbol instead of writing out and, etc. Okay, so in my first one that I filled out at the top of the list, which was orchestra, I would say in parentheses grade 12 or grade 10 through 12, etc. when describing something. But then for every activity after that, in parentheses, I would just say 10 through 12 or just 12. So I was establishing what that meant in the first one, and then I could save space by not writing grade for each thing in the rest of them. Also, I would emphasize, like Alex said, not using complete sentences, using slash marks and semicolons. I don't think I ever used a single period, and everything was a run-on sentence. Just doing anything that you can to try and save space and get the point across, being concise and showing what you really did in the activity. So then the other part of this is the hours per week. It's not super important because, like, obviously everything is different and fluctuates a lot, but I would just suggest trying to figure out how many weeks a year your school year is, and then using that as a jumping off point, figuring out like if there's something that you basically do all school year, then you can use that number. If there's something that's only parts of the school year, using that. But you do want to try to be accurate. So take the extra time to figure out how many hours per week this is and how many weeks per year it is. So another thing with the activity section is trying to figure out how you should order it, what order you should place the activities. For me personally, the way that I did it was I started out with the activities that I was most passionate about, that I had done for the longest amount of time and put the most time into, and from there kind of went downward. So the activities at the bottom of my list were ones that I still cared about and was passionate about, but I had put the least time into in comparison to activities at the top of the list.
When choosing activities, if you're earlier in your high school career, I would suggest being well-rounded, but also having a spike or like this passion you're really interested in. I know with a lot of students I've been talking to, they all seem to be very passionate about like this one topic, no matter how minute it might be. So just keep that in mind. Also have a theme in your application, something that connects all your extracurriculars together if possible, and ties in with your Common App, like all that. So it really just says your like life story in one application.
So then after the activity section is the personal essay, and for a lot of people this will probably be the most daunting and time-consuming portion of the Common App. I know that for me, I went back and forth a lot with what I wanted to write about, and it took me a long time to finally settle on a topic.
This was the essay and part of the application I spent the most on. I spent like dozens of hours just going through, revising, working on it during school.
So this is not an essays video. I am going to make a separate video on essays, but this is part of the Common App. So I will just say, try to find a connecting theme, if possible, between some of your activities and what you mention in your personal essay. For instance, for me, a lot of my awards had to do with writing, and some of the awards that I listed, I mentioned in my personal essay. Basically, in my personal essay, I talked about how a personal experience led me into becoming a writer and winning some of those awards. So there was that connecting thread between different parts of my application.
This essay should define who you are. Like, after reading it, your admissions officer should be able to understand just like who you are and why you're so passionate about what you're doing, what you want to do in the future, all of that. If you are going to write about like trauma or something traumatic, I would refrain from writing like making the majority of the essay about the trauma.
You want to show how your personal experiences led you to become the person who you are today. You don't want to focus entirely on the past. And then also, I will quickly say on that topic, don't feel pressured to only write about bad experiences. I've seen accepted student essays at schools like Harvard, etc., and a lot of them are about things that people are really passionate about, and etc. Not everything has to be trauma when it comes to essays.
Yeah, do if you feel as though it's really a major point in your life, but don't if you don't want to.
Yeah. So then the last section of just the Common App, not looking at any school-specific portions of applications, is the additional information section. This is a really underrated but important section of the Common App, I feel like. I think both of us used it to describe awards and activities that we didn't have space for in the honors and awards section, and then also in the activities section.
I know that like not everybody fills this out. You can if you want. For me, I put extracurriculars that I couldn't fit. They were much smaller, but I feel like they still contributed to my overall understanding of the application. For instance, I wrote that I was a volunteer karate instructor because karate was one of my big things and I didn't have enough space for it. I also put that I job shadowed at an analytics and artificial intelligence company over the summer. It just showed like my how broad I could be, my variety in activities.
And you don't really have to write like sentences or paragraphs. I just did bullet points. I said additional activities and I had bullet points, and then additional honors and awards and I had bullet points, and just put like kind of smaller things like that I did private violin lessons, and then also smaller awards like honor roll and like things that weren't as big and that I couldn't really devote an entire activities block to, or that I didn't want to spend one of my 5 honors and awards on.
Yeah, so for me, since I also do MUN, I wrote about like all the smaller awards because you wouldn't be really able to fit it if you have a lot. I also did karate awards too.
And that is basically it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this.
So feel free to DM one of us if you have any questions concerning your application.
Or both of us.
Yeah, or both of us. We'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, I will link Alex's socials, including his YouTube channel, in
right,
the
I have
description.
one.
Alex has a
Yes.
channel that he does not use.
I might be posting a stats video if I find the motivation, where you can see all of my extracurriculars, awards, test scores, which, by the way, are not very good.
So that's pretty much it for this video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye!